completely
Digging it.
legitimate.
Presence,
All right.
are we talking about functionality, benefits, detriments? Glacia,
Social
take
media.
it away.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's start with Glacia. Go ahead. Social media.
All of that, yes. I mean, I think we need to touch on, the good, the bad, the ugly, the benefits, the detriments, where the sweet spot is, whether to self-manage or to outsource. And unfortunately, Rob, brand. You can't have social media work for you without having a brand to put forth onto the social media. So
as an author, we are our brand.
We are our brand, 100%. I mean, and yeah, you kind of have to establish what that is before you go stumbling out into the social media wonderland that is, I don't know. I mean, could we call that like the big four? You know, your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, like.
Yeah, I think that would be the big four.
You know, there's other ones out there, but I mean,
there's Tumblr and
Those are the ones that are most tied to a commercial entity anyway. So if you're going to, I mean, brand means commercial, so those should be the four you would focus on. Tell me, though, because I'm stupid and I'm coming new to this, if I'm out there and I have no idea, what are the borders around the definition? What do I need to know about a brand before I worry about pushing it? How do you establish a brand? Ray's right. We are our brand. But from a visual and a connector to the outside world for the purposes of developing that brand, selling books, connecting, what is the first step for somebody who's new to social media, for example?
If you're running a brand, you are your brand, which means what comes out of your mouth, what you type, what you say is attributed to you. So the first thing you need to do is separate yourself from your brand. What that means is everybody has a personal Facebook page. That page is where you put your, I love the president, I hate the president, chips are awesome, Doritos suck, whatever it is you say online, that is you. That is not your brand. The first thing you have to develop, you have to divorce yourself from your brand, because you really don't want to start throwing your opinions with your brand unless you really just want to. I mean, obviously there are people who do, but a lot of those people tend to be higher up the brand food chain than most of us are. When you're just starting, everything you say is a hindrance or a benefit to your brand. It can change it instantly, especially when you're just building it. So we kind of want to maintain that brand as focusing on our product. That's where we want our focus. Because by focusing our brand, we are bringing people to our product. That's what we do.
There's two people at work here. There's the you person and there's the you as an author person. Author goes with the brand. Person goes with the casserole that grandma sent you and you want to tell everybody how good it was. And you want to show everybody your kid and you want to show everybody your kitty cat. And you want to show everybody all this bullshit nobody cares about. In author land, it's a different deal. And
because
separating the two
is going to tell you, I had blue crab tonight and that was awesome. And Ray, the author, is going to go, hey, I wrote another chapter of my book. You really got to check this out because my protagonist is badass. That's the difference. Because one is pushing one thing, which is me personally, who gives a crap what I say, and the other is pushing my products. This is what's happening. This is what's coming out. This is what I'm doing.
Well, and then within
brand versus what? Brand versus private persona. Once established, once you understand the separation and the differential between the two, what do they do next? You mentioned the big four. Talk about how where is the best market penetration? Where is the best saturation? Where is the best money for bang for your buck if you're trying to develop it through those media? How do we do that?
Well, gracious. I mean, I think that the first thing that you have to establish is bang for your buck is time. I mean, that's the big benefit of social media and using that as a marketing tool, right? Is because you can get a certain amount of exposure with $0.
Let's how to back it up here because we're talking about getting into it, but we haven't talked about there. If you are Joe Author and you're sitting in front of your computer and you're like, hey, I'm going to write the world's greatest book ever fucking written. But first, I need to develop my brand. So what are the first things I'm going to do? I'm going to set up my my website, my email, my page on Facebook, my Twitter account for my author, my YouTube channel for my author, and tie my Instagram to that profile I have. Now I have my author page, my Twitter author account, my YouTube author channel, and I have now set up my brand. This is fresh and clean, not talking about my cats, my babies, my house, my prostate or whatever, we are just getting there. So now we got it. Now we move to that next step Glacia was talking about. Take it away.
Yeah, you completely, I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah, bang for your buck. Money
bang
versus
for your buck,
time.
right.
Yeah.
What money is time.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Let's face it, a lot of, selfies, just don't want to or can't, in my case, can't throw, money at the thing, in terms of actually, real marketing or anything like that. So you have to kind of harness that.
Any selfie you're doing, you want to be careful which money and where you're throwing it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that's wasting money.
Even with the presence of, a whole lot of money that you could be using for a marketing campaign, right, it's still vital that you take advantage of social media as a way of sort of, allowing your fans to connect with you. That's the funny thing is a lot of times I think that you hear, allow the author to connect with fans, but really it's the other way around.
Exactly.
It's to allow you to be accessible to the people who are interested in this shit that you're doing. And a great many authors out there, I think, don't really actively connect with their fan bases. It's just sort of put out there, and then the fans connect with it. But so, Ray, you're talking about, getting everything all set up on that.
Setup. Yep.
Yeah, you're there. Clean slate sort of thing. There's another question there in terms of branding, but it's probably not relevant to the topic of social media. But in terms of whether you're going to use your work as your brand or your persona as your facade, if you will.
Well, I mean, if your books are your books, here's the issue I tend to have with that, and I see a lot of authors doing it. They use their book as their brand. Don't do that, because your book is your product, not your brand.
Yes.
You're going to have more than one book. Hopefully, you're going to do more than one book. So you want to have, just like there's Kellogg's and Kraft and Coca-Cola, they have their products and they have their brand. There's a difference. If you make your book your brand, when you move on to the next one, you're starting over. This is the problem. Yeah. Now, some people will go, but I don't have a book out yet, or I haven't turned around and published it yet, so why the hell am I doing this? Because if you go right now as a person and Google yourself, you're not going to really find much. You're going to find your personal social media, you're going to find your Spokio, you're going to find all that crap, but you're not going to find your author stuff. By doing it now, you're laying the foundation for when that book comes out, somebody types in your name, they're going to find your author stuff, the stuff you want them to find. When I started doing it and I typed in my name in Google, it came up with all my computer crap because I spent years working computers. When I actually had to search me as an author, I had to type Raymond Bailey, author. And then it came up with my couple of things. I do that today. Everything's author. Everything I've got that comes up is my books, my brand, anything I've got going on. And that's the point. You start it because it allows the search engines to find you and index you and get you ready for when you release that book. That's the important.
They have to learn. That's another.
Exactly.
So when Glacia was taking me through this process, very embarrassingly recently, that was one of the things that she said, is that the places, the applications and the landing spots where your brand goes and the products that are subordinate to it, it takes a while. The machine will adjust. It will learn about you. It will make adjustments to its own algorithms. It indexes and it sub-indexes, and it gets to a point at which repetitive clicks make a difference. Every once in a while, it doesn't pay any attention to it. Click after click from disparate sources, you've got its attention, and it has to now, because that's what it's sensitive to. That takes a little bit of time. you're on the other end of that, Ray. You type in Ray Bailey and it comes up with a whole bunch of stuff. I'm still in my ignorance because I wrote books before I ever started the social media side of this. I came at this
Right.
From a backward perspective. It's a good what you just said. If you're a new author and you intend to come into this now, establish a brand, then your book becomes the first product. But that internet presence through all these different places, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, et al.
Right.
It was surprising to me how you have to peck at it. This is not a bulldozer. You have to peck and peck and peck and stay connected to it, and that is where the difference is made.
Yeah,
Little
well,
here, little there, little by little, right?
you kind of touch on something there, and that's strategy, right? Like, so, and depending on how much of that time is money thing that you have to decide whether you're going to do total saturation all at once, or if you're going to do some sort of concentration. Because as you're talking about training the machine, I mean, that's very, very true. You're talking about manipulating algorithms. And so if you have like a normal life, like most of
that's good. Yeah.
Normal.
Yeah.
Normal.
Yeah, normal. Nobody's ever called me that.
What is this normal thing you speak of? Anyway,
yeah. You have less of that commodity of time, and so do you want to be on YouTube and Insta and Facebook and Twitter all at the same time, trying to create that saturation that's going to allow you growth across the board towards a meaningful place?
Well, and everybody has a strategy set they do. It depends on what you have available to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at is like, you know, if you're willing and able to go and just like plaster your crap all across that four and manipulate all of those algorithms together, because they do talk to each other to a certain extent, Instagram and Facebook especially. But then Instagram also speaks with Twitter pretty well. So I mean, like, realistically, everything's connected.
Well, if we're starting the building blocks, the first thing to remember is once you have your pages in place, in the ways of branding, visuals, you have your profile picture, your main banner on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. These are the things which identify you. Meaning that if you go to my author page, you're going to see a big splash screen which shows characters and books and series, and then a picture of me, which I, altered kind of coolly in the left-hand corner, but, and from there, yeah, I know, it's kind of funny, actually, because I put a tattoo on my neck. It was hilarious. And then you've got, I know, right? And then you've got, access to the Facebook. Shut up. I know. Facebook. I'm teaching people here. God damn it.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
you are.
Shit.
Keep going.
No,
you're rolling. Keep going. Don't stop now.
I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of everybody on this channel. And then we've got, the main Facebook author page, and then each one of my series has their own Facebook page, and they're all, big plastered visual banners. Every time I put something up, if I post, I include a visual with it because people want to see something.
Excellent point. Wow, that is important. When I was a long way into this at a periphery, because I will admit, my publisher obliges me to go maintain a presence in social media, and I fought it tooth and nail because I disapprove of social media. I hate it. I don't want to play there. I don't want to go there. To me, it diminishes me as a human, yada, yada. And so I was only walking along, smacking the branches a little bit from a distance. But as I said, recently, when I got a little bit of inspiration and some instruction and tutelage from Glacia, here I go. I'm deeper into this. And it isn't as though we live in a textual world. That's what we do. We write books. It's all about text. But the visual you just talked about, Ray, is critical. And I looked at my stuff and I thought, this could be maybe the most boring stuff I've ever seen. And Glacia said, hey, you need to do something about this. You got to get some visuals in here. Of course, she was right. And it made me conscious of it. it is a visual medium. Most of what we do in pushing this stuff is visual, as a direct contradiction to the textual life that we live when we write books. There's a relationship between the two. Yeah, exactly. Right, but it's important. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's probably why it feels so weird for authors to do that, you know. I mean, but I mean, there's a reason behind that, right? I mean, because people don't visit pages per se, you know. I mean, you have to hook them in and then make them follow. You can't just assume that they're going to go find you. They have to see one of your posts come up. And the only way anybody is going to pay attention to what it is that you are putting in front of them on their feed is if there is a visual cue there. Because people who are scrolling through Facebook are going right past the text unless you are a close friend of theirs. It is such a fast filter that people are using to figure out what is worth their time and what is not. So yeah, I mean, no matter what you are posting on Facebook, at least, you know, you kind of have to treat Facebook a little bit like Instagram, you know, in that sort of visual centric sort of thing. I use visuals even on Twitter. I don't tweet very often, but when I do, I do so with a visual. You know, I use Twitter a lot for book whoring, honestly. You know, I mean, I will post my book on there.
Book whoring, right. We all do.
Well,
yeah, we all do that.
Don't we all? So, yeah, absolutely.
I feel so
We'd be
dirty.
stupid if we didn't.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's what they make disinfectant for. It's not a problem.
I feel dirty.
Call it the author walk of shame, right?
You know what? It really is. I don't do a whole lot of selling on Facebook, and I think that that's probably a worthy, you know, avenue to go down. Is, you know, when you're talking about branding and brand marketing, you know, how does sales fit into that whole thing? What is your model there? You know, I am anti hard selling outside of the period of time surrounding. Oh, it's just the way I am. I will book whore on Twitter, occasionally on Instagram. I do not book whore on Facebook at all. You know, what the impact is there, I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it comes down to. Well, I mean, I do, but it's not like it's every day. I mean, part of the problem is a balance. You have to remember when you're doing this, don't sit there every minute of every day and go, hey, my book's on sale, buy it. Hey, my book's on sale, buy it. Hey, my book's, you know what? People are going to stop listening to you. They're going to literally go, Jesus, I'm going to turn this guy off. It's annoying. But yeah,
it's interesting because we have seen them. I've seen them on Twitter, for example, where it is a constant, if not daily, very close to it, a bulldozer barrage of, of course, I would never mention names. That's uncool. But it makes me wonder if they understand that it may be more of a hindrance than a help to just blast ass with again and again and again the same kind of message, variations on a theme, maybe a different image. But when you come at somebody that much, I start to glaze over it. When it was interesting when I would look at it the first time, the 400th time, I'm getting tired of it. And when I see it, I bypass it. I don't give it another thought. That's damaging for that person's brand and to their sale.
Well, for real. And I mean, like past that, you know, you talk about, you know, people shutting things off. You just get unfollowed. You know, people do not say that crap. And then, like, now you don't have a consumer at all. It is a very delicate balance between creating enough interest and engagement so that when you actually put something out that is salesy, that it will get put in front of these people. You know what I mean?
Right. It's very true. And that's one of the issues you need to have. I mean, and to give you an example, when putting stuff out like that, it tends to be more like, okay, I'm going to create a quick picture of my character and my logo for my series and do a little quote and go, hey, I wrote, you know, 4 more chapters or 3 more chapters on the book this week. It's really going great. I'm digging into these characters and it's awesome. I can't wait for you guys to see. I'm not selling my book. I'm not saying the same old thing. I'm giving a progress update and adding emotion to it. Yep. That's really what it is. And you know what? That's different. And I include a picture. something they hadn't seen. They kind of look at it and go, "Hey, that's kind of cool. I like that." Maybe I'll check it out when it comes out. That way you're keeping people informed and engaged.
Yes. Cool, new,
And
catchy, and
But that's the connect.
Rob.
Well, yeah, that's the hard thing too. That is, it's a hard thing to do because of that.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing
But
because that you got to keep people engaged for months while you're writing the thing. You really do.
Yeah. I honestly,
well, I think they.
I don't even begin talking about my whips until they are like nearing completion. I don't do the word count updates. I will tell
Right.
people when I'm plotting, but I mean, like, this is just different approaches, right? Like, I know a lot of people who post word counts, like got 2,500 a day, got 3,500 a day.
That is so annoying to me. I just my skin crawls and I say, I don't care how many words you wrote today. Maybe they're all terrible words. That doesn't tell me anything. I'm not impressed.
It's not for me either, for sure. But it is one of the approaches that is taken out there. And then you have, Ray, who gives more, more more frequent updates on stuff that's going on, like within the actual writing of the book. That I don't do that. I do, I worked on the cover, I did my cover shoot, I plotted everything, I began creative phase, I'm halfway through creative phase, I'm finished, I'm editing, and blah 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 blah. It's like milestones.
And I tend to.
How come we lost you? We just lost your. Did Ray? Can you see her? I just lost her video.
I can see her. That's just your connection going wonky. Nope, I can see her. But I mean, my approach is more, and this is the difference. Some people do it as what I call the lofty approach. It's everybody, I've got 2,500 words, and here's what I did, and here's my chapter. I tend to take it as more like the buddy standing next to the computer. Come here, take a look at this. This is really cool. I just did this.
Yeah. No, that's different.
That's
but you're not beating the hell out of them either. That's an excellent analogy.
This is neat.
Yeah, this is not an advertisement. You're saying, hey, come here, check this out. That's a great way of putting it. You're not beating anybody over the head with it. It's also not overtly ceremonial. It's not overly officious. I think most people regard works in progress as something that ought to be waited for. You don't write books in 25 minutes. It's not something that, like a song, that you could write in a week and puke it out. It doesn't work that way. It takes months and months and months. And I think most people understand that. They like a new season in some TV or a series, a season appears, you're kind of bummed because it's going to take until February of 2020. But when it shows up, you don't resent it. You go say, "Ooh, it's time for us to watch this new show." I think books, and as Glacia says, when she gets close and starts getting to where she's in the final edit and proofing stage, she's going to say something about it. Who wouldn't? She wants to let people know, hey, this is coming, right? It's like a mental trailer.
Well, just like anything you're doing. Yeah, but if I've got a new season coming out, I've always little teasers once in a while because it keeps people reminded. And as I'm writing a book, I will do little updates. I'll usually do a weekly post, and sometimes it's about the new things, sometimes it's about what's going on with the original series, or just some basic post, or maybe it's just a funny picture. But it's something to keep people engaged as I continue on. Because really, when you're in between writing, you've got your current marketing for whatever book you're on, and you're writing whatever you're going to do next. Mine's always on whatever you're going to do next, but you can't forget about what you have out. And I tend to try to say, oh, look, this happened, or this is on sale, or this is doing this. But it's when something changes, you kind of post those things, or when you have that month where you're offering it for free, because you try to, like I just did the contest, which is I've got to update today, which is the review contest. It's like, hey, you know what? Come to my author page, post a picture of your review. I'll enter you into the contest to win a set of the books signed by me, and I'll send them to you. It ends next week, so get them in. And that's kind of what I do. And I have people doing that. They're sending me the pics of their reviews. I think that's great. So it's trying to further something, because you need reviews, and it's keeping them engaged at the same time. So it's a way to use
watering the lawn is what you're doing. That's
exactly what I'm doing.
I will mow the lawn from time to time, but you're taking it another step, and you're actually fertilizing and watering it, and that's not a bad idea. You learn and you experiment as you go, but I excuse myself because I'm nowhere near as adept and into the marketing side of this as I should be. Certainly not as much as either of you. So I learn as I
Well,
go.
and it's
But it's something that
right.
somebody who's listening behind this is saying, okay, wait a minute, what did he say about that? This is where you learn things that otherwise would have taken months and months to figure out on your own. That's a good pathfinder
And it
approach.
actually did take months and months, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
But and this is another thing. It's like, well, how do we know what works? Honestly, specifically, I can't point to any one specific thing. Actually, we had a conversation, Glacier and I had a conversation about this earlier today. Can't point at one specific thing. It's just a set of whatever little bit of advertising you're doing, whatever little bit of social media. The only thing I know is that every day I can look and I know I'm selling something, and every month I get a check. Now, I'm not going to go out and buy a Ferrari with it, but the point being is whatever's happening is working. I'm trying to make it better and I'm trying to make it bigger. But what I do right now works and it continues to grow. And that's the important things. But I don't have a specific metric for a specific, like, okay, so I have, ads up on Doctor Who Online, and I have ads up on a couple other sci-fi sites, and I have, a small marketing campaign on Amazon, and a small marketing campaign on Facebook, and sometimes I do Twitter schedule ads, and sometimes I do contests, and I do my weekly post, my weekly video update. Which one of those works best? I don't know. But I know combined, it's at least furthering the brand. So you do
Okay.
things like
Here's
that.
something, Glacia, when you beat me over the head with the importance of getting visuals into this as I'm expanding my own brand, as I'm starting to, yeah, for example, a Facebook page for each of my books. I would never have thought to do that. Great idea. But here's something that Ray is out in front of most people when it comes to the imagery because he's able to manipulate. He's really good. That is not a
Arts
skill
and
that a lot of
crafts
people
ninja.
have.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Arts and
so,
crafts
and
ninja.
least of all, there are folks who stay in the word world because the image world is not a comfortable place for them. What do you say to them? How can they, aside from going to Pond 5 or Pinterest and grabbing some imagery, that's not the same thing as being able to manipulate it the way you do. Yours is very advanced. That is something
Yeah.
that helps your imagery, and it is an eye catcher stuff. All of your stuff is very visual and compelling. So how does the person who doesn't have a Photoshop green thumb, how do they get there? Glacia, how do they get there from? Do you do the same thing? Ray's really good at this.
Um,
I'm mediocre at it. So it's, there's varying gradations, I'm saying.
Sure, yeah. I mean, everybody's on the sliding scale of how good they are at visual marketing, right? I mean, like I'm not very good at that sort of stuff. I can't do any of the crap that Ray does. I don't have the programs for it. I don't have the eye for it. I do have an eye for other things, and my series brand and my books all have they have good visual continuity. There's colors that I use, there's tones that I use. Everything is in mostly color reduced black and white. So it's very subdued, but it all looks the same. It's all very matchy. And
Matchy matchy. That's a good one. Yeah.
It's a really good look for that series. I love those covers. I'm talking about, no, let's take this one step further. Your covers are wonderful. Ray's are wonderful. In your Facebook page, in a post, something that you're putting up that isn't the cover. I'll condense this. What do you do to fill that post out so it's not just simple text that people are going to bypass? What would you say to somebody who's new to this that needs to understand the importance of visuals,
of
of
adding
imagery, and how to
visual.
manipulate it?
It's a
Yeah,
great,
when they're
yeah,
in this, because it's a multimedia, or I'm sorry, it's a social media discussion today. How
yeah.
do they fill that out? How do they do that?
I have two different things that I do. In the absence of being really good at Photoshop and being able to do cool graphics and stuff like that, I have to work with what I have. And so what I have is a really nice camera. And so I do photo
That's
shoots
not a
of
bad thing.
everything. So like when I got my proof copies, I did a photo shoot of my proof copies, and I've got fodder for weeks of posts. I stylize them, I edit them out. They look the same as my cover palettes, as they are similar to the palette that I've used for the entire brand of the series, which is somewhat outside of my own brand, just a little bit. But so I tie everything together in that way. So it follows the brand, but it's one of the things that allows me to be able to grab some sort of a visual medium and then tie it to the Aspen Sundial just did this today, blah 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 blah. So yeah, I'll open the box up and put it in some pretty lighting and take 50 or so photographs and then spend 15 minutes picking my favorites and editing them, and then I just stick them in a folder and wait for later. Now the other thing that I do, same sort of thing, is for book teasers and stuff like that. I'll just take pretty photos of everything. All of my imagery for my brand is very nature oriented, so I go take pictures of crap. And then I'll post, just like a tiny little quote from the book on top of a photograph that looks like it could be one of my covers. And I'll use that, But I mean, like, not everybody has, Photoshop, Ray sort of thing.
Yep.
Not everybody has, photography ability and experience, though now, realistically, if people can do Instagram photos that look, half professional and stuff, then they can do that for their books also. But in the absence of that, I find that videos are very effective at getting people.
Yes, videos are very effective. You're absolutely right.
Videos are,
and that's one of the reasons we do live updates. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She is the queen of live. Yeah, I do my pre-recorded once a week updates, but she is definitely the queen of live.
Well, I like going live for a number of reasons, right? There are definite benefits to going live directly to Facebook. I haven't tried it yet with YouTube, but I'm going to. So one of the biggest benefits is that there's no mixing. I don't edit anything. Part of my brand is that I am candid. Everything just is what it is. Stuff flies. So
oh yeah, I've got intros and outros and all kinds of stuff with my. If you watch one of my videos, I've got splash screens and all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's you. If I were going to do YouTube videos that are produced, I would totally do that. But my brand is interactive, so I get on live and I play with people, and we talk about stuff. And some of that stuff is indeed my book. I sell a lot of books on Saturday and Sunday when I go live. Actually,
that's a good thing.
That's probably when I sell all of my books first.
That's okay,
I mean, it works, right?
So yeah, that's the fertilizer and the water on the lawn. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And some people, we talked about the visuals, and if there are people out there who do want to try to go to that next level, that advanced graphics powerhouse thing, it's really not that difficult. It does require a little bit of your time and about $60 a month. That's really all it requires. And what that is Adobe Creative Cloud and like a subscription to Shutterstock. That's it. I mean, the Creative Cloud will give you every tool you need for book covers, all of your ad media, print stuff, video editing, audio editing, anything you ever need is in that, $40 a month you spend for Creative Cloud. All of my tools come from that, and everything I do is from it. And I can't think of a time when I haven't gone to Wet Toolbox and pulled something out I haven't been able to use to further my books. And you're right, it's ninja arts and crafts. I don't draw them from scratch, but what I have is I have a license, I have a license to go to Shutterstock, find the things that work, put them together and alter them accordingly. So that gives me that great visual sense every time I put something out. And that's powerful. It really is a great marketing tool.
You can adjust and apply some pretty cool stuff. It's no longer just a baseline Photoshop activity. There's really powerful, amazing layering tools that are available to you. For example, fonts beyond recognition that are just a simple type and adjust the size, place it and plunk it where you want, shade it, shadow it. it's fun from a certain perspective if you're kind of geeky about it, which I think of myself as geeky, but I'm not. I'm not advanced. I just goof with it. But the result.
Okay.
And by the way, we're also this is a differential I should probably mention. Both of you guys are selfies, and your approach to this is necessarily different than mine. I'm a semi-traditional publishing in that I don't have to query, I don't have an agent, but I've got an established publishing house that is actually an independent, strictly speaking. But my book covers are not mine. They generate them in house. I tell them what I want. I knock it back and forth with them. I get what I want at the end of the process. But I'm not the one doing this. And so what I'm making clear is when I go to do anything that's image oriented in the social media world, it's on me. I need to go find whether it's images that are provided to me, a wrap or a banner that my publisher sends me. Those I don't screw around with. Ray gets to do things that I could never do, which is generate his own. He owns the artwork on his covers.
Right.
Glacia does too. You can manipulate the daylights out of them, and nobody can say anything about it. That's a nice freedom to have.
It is a nice freedom, and that's kind of one of the reasons I'm vacillating back and forth about this whole next thing I'm looking at doing. But one of the things I also like to cover with that is not just branding, but sub-brands. If you go to Shadow Chronicles or Earth Reborn or any of the series set that I have, each one has their own individual brand. Each series has their own brand. So you have the author brand, the series brand, and then the book cover, which is the product. So associating them and tying them together gets that sub-brand. I mean, you can literally walk into the Shadow War Chronicles page on Facebook and boom, as soon as you pull it up, is the logo for the Shadow War Chronicles, or the logo for Earth Reborn, because that's how you associate the products together. First thing I learned was, and I actually covered this with a couple of different people who do series, is by doing that, you're grouping that brand. If I decide to shoot off one of my spin-off things, I can still refer to that brand and it covers it. And if somebody sees that, they're going to go, I know that symbol. I know that brand. What is this? What is this book? I haven't seen this book before. But they already are associating that with some, brand recognition, and that,
exactly.
that series brand or sub brand is just as important, because just like you walk in and see Stephen King's face and you know it, or you see the logo for it, you know it, you can see a brand for a series. And there are a couple people who do it with the Expeditionary Recon series or the Day by Day series that have their entire series branded. So when you see a sub book come out, you see the Day by Day brand and you go, I know what that is. That's one of the Day by Day books. I like that series. I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
So it's an association is what you're doing.
And it's no different than it is. Glacia, for example, her books are her book covers are iconic. Immediately it's a different kind of it's very artful.
I want to say almost ethereal. Yeah, it's very.
It really
ethereal.
is.
It's kind of, that's very
consistent.
unique, and that's cool about it.
Yeah, and that almost becomes for her stuff. It's almost like its own logo. It's so recognizable. And she keeps that constant with, like I said, variations on a theme. But you're looking up that tree, which is it's compelling, especially in her genre. And brand recognition. There you go. It's right there in front of you. It doesn't have to be a logo. Although you just knocked me out, Ray, because I had an epiphany. I wondered about a logo for a book series. Mine, I'm only in my first series. But I have it now, and you just triggered me to do that. So thank you. I learned something on my own damn podcast. Good deal.
Actually. See, look at that. We learn all kinds of cool. We learn all kinds of cool stuff.
All the cool things.
All the cool things we learn.
I'm trying to figure out why I can't see Glacia. She disappeared about 20 minutes ago. Hasn't been back.
Well, that's okay. I've just been picking my nose and.
Oh, all right.
Uncool things.
The restraining order kicked in. That's what happened. Oh man. Yeah. No, I mean, branding and part of that social media is the big takeaways are Images are important, just as important as what you say. In fact, probably more important than what you say most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Having a steady schedule, even if it's just once a week, put a post out. Content is king. Keeping people engaged, bringing them back. Use it. Not just put it up there, but use it and keep posting to it. Because the more you do, the more relevant you become. And, sorry, one of the things that I tend to like to do is I'll go to my website and I'll do a post. And I'll take that post and I'll share it out to my social media. That way I'm bringing people back to my site through social media. It becomes a doorway and a portal. So what I'll try to do is once a week I'll do a post to my site and then do a dedicated post to social media. So I'm doing both. That way those that don't want to go to the site don't have to. They get their information from social media. Those who want to follow through down the rabbit hole can. So there's always that way to go.
Right.
Yeah, everything should be reciprocal in that way.
Yes.
Something should be supporting at least two other things and leading, I mean, because within social media you network, but you should also be networking one social media platform to another at all times, or to your website, I
Yes.
mean,
Complementary and ongoing is
Yes.
the holy grail. Okay. Bring out your
It
day.
really is.
Sorry.
It really is.
I feel happy.
That's
All
how
right.
you-
So, before we forget, let me also remind everyone, next week we have an interesting discussion analyzing series or standalones, benefits, detriments, a mix of the two. That's coming up next week. That's going to be a good one.
He is right. That is
That
going to
sounded
be
like
good.
a professional promo. Glacia, did I pass
Dude,
on that?
I
Is that
am
okay?
pretty happy with that plug. That's a golf cap plug, man. That's serious.
All right,
Hey,
cool.
next week on Authors and Chains. There we go.
Yeah, I was
But Ray
working.
puts you
I'm
to
digging
shame
it.
when he does his thing. I mean,
No,
Oh
he's
yeah,
got
the radio voice. That's right.
Yeah, he goes.
yeah, you don't want me doing it because I go all squirrely. Forget what I'm
No,
saying halfway through.
I get like the movie trailer, one man, one book. One way in, no way out.
Little tortilla boy.
Right. One horrible, very horrible, bad, no good day. I mean, just literally, it's oh yeah. I start doing the movie
Cool.
promos. Everybody's like, "What is that? I want to see it. What is it?" This weekend, Sunday, the Nuns. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
never let it be said we don't know how to work neurosis. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Good.
There's somebody going to church
one.
with that promo. They're like, I want to see
That's
this,
right.
this church thing they're talking about. This sounds awesome.
Plug your ears. Plug your ears, Timmy. Come with me. Hurry, on your knees, you little bastard. Hurry.
That's right. Demented woman in black, a ruler, you decide. Oh yeah. I apologize to churches everywhere who shows up after this.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's horrible. God, that's what happens when you're
Good show, guys. That was wunderbar. Though I'm going to go